Welcome back, my crime addicts. Before we get started, if you guys watched my update on the Chris Watts case, then you know that I have officially picked a name for you guys. We as a channel are gonna have the nickname of Crime Addicts. The reason I picked that, if you come and you watch every one of my videos, is that you are obsessed with crime and it interests you, and I'm addicted to crime. That's all I watch, that's all I'm interested in, really. So I'm an addict to crime, so we are now crime addicts. If you think it's corny or you don't like it, give me ideas. We can be called something else. I just kind of picked something that came to mind. We are gonna go ahead and just get started, featuring Hercules. For story number 3, we are going over the case of Emma Walker. The date that this case took place was November 21st of 2016. So the main people in this story that we're going to be talking about is Emma Walker and William Riley Gall. I hope I'm saying his last name right. I'm going to go ahead and start off by giving you guys a quick bio of Emma Walker herself. Emma Walker was a 17-year-old high school student. She was a cheerleader, she was vibrant, she was beautiful, she was beyond beautiful. Like, look at this. She was very happy, she was very cheerful, like all the time. She literally was a person that you could meet and get along with instantly, is what I got out of her. Emma lived in Knoxville, Tennessee, and at the time Emma was dating 18-year-old William Riley. Now William went by Riley being his middle name, so we're gonna go ahead and just start calling him Riley from this point on. Riley was a freshman in college, so they dated for about 2 years. I think it was like 2 years and a few months, but we're just gonna go off of 2 years. And no one really approved of their relationship. Nobody was okay with it. And apparently Riley being older, you know, he felt more controlling, seeing that she was in high school, she was a cheerleader, so she was around a lot more people. She had a lot of friends. Like I said, she was very vibrant, she was very cheerful, she was very friendly. So I guess Riley didn't like that. That's kind of why friends, family didn't really approve of their relationship at all. Well, we're gonna end the bio on that note, and we're gonna go ahead and jump right into the story because the end of that bio kind of focuses on how the story starts. So to start off the story, in November of 2016, Emma ends the relationship between her and Riley. The reason she ends the relationship is because she feels like they are not in the same place anymore. She's not happy with the relationship, and she feels that it's time for her to move on. Like I said, Riley was a freshman in college, so he's literally on the road to his career. Emma's still in high school. She's not really there yet, you know. She's still teenager stage where she's gonna go to parties, she's gonna want to have fun. She's still getting to know herself, as to where Riley is kind of already knowing who he is as a person, knowing what he wants to do with his life. They're just in 2 separate places. Riley actually doesn't take the breakup well. He's not accepting it. He's begging her to take him back. From what I learned, Riley was one of those people who used suicide as a threat to try and bring Emma back to him, which is not cool. Don't do that. It's not cute. He would take pills, he would drink alcohol, he would tell her that he's gonna kill himself if she doesn't take him back. Surprisingly, I'm guessing in the past Emma would fall for it, and she would, I don't know if she would take him back or just start communicating with him slowly, but it didn't work this time. And she held her ground and she was like, no, like, we are done, we're moving on, I'm over it. Emma's parents realize how Riley is handling the breakup, and they're like, hey, we're gonna have you chill for a few days, weeks even, maybe, until he gets a grip on himself and realizes that you don't want to be with him. You are going to go to school, go to work, go to games, go to practice, come home. That's that. She's kind of on a strict where to go, where to come. Her parents always keep an eye on her for a few weeks after their breakup because of how Riley was handling it. She's kind of on house arrest for a few weeks, right? And November 18th hits, and her parents allow her to go to a little, like, party, I guess, a little get together. And it's around 11:30 p.m. and Emma's friend Zach shows up. And she's like, hey Zach, can you come here real quick? I have to show you something. And she shows him her phone. And she's like, look, I'm getting all these weird texts. They're text messages talking about if you love him, you will come save him. Grab your keys, go to your car alone. Basically threatening messages that made her uncomfortable to the point where she had to let somebody know, hey, this is going on and it's hella weird. They kind of figure out who the text messages are talking about, and they're talking about Riley. So she doesn't know if it's a prank. She doesn't know if it's Riley messing with her. She doesn't know if it's a for real thing. So at that point, she goes back to the party. She does her own thing. And it isn't until she gets a text message saying that whoever had Riley has now dropped him off at the party where Emma is. So she goes to Zach and she's like, look, Zach, they sent a text saying that Riley's outside. So of course, her and Zach go outside. Zach, in a 2020 interview, talks about how they're getting closer to this body in a ditch, and under the streetlight they can see that it is Riley. And he's got this confused look on his face. He's holding his head, like the back of his head, as if he's been hit, if he's hurt. Emma's like, what are you doing here? What happened? What is going on? And he's like, where am I? What happened? I don't know where I am. I think I've been kidnapped. And Emma at that point is like, in her mind, she's thinking like, WTF, like what is going on? She looks at Riley and she's like, we just broke up, leave me alone, and walks off. So I'm guessing Zach, being her friend, walks off with her, and Riley, feeling rejected and I'm guessing hurt, you know, like he's been kidnapped, and the only person he wanted to go and talk to was Emma, and she straight up told him like, hey, like I don't care what happened to you, bye, we're done, you know. He starts walking up the street alone. Now, when I read that in the article, I was kind of like set back because it didn't really make sense to me. Like, you were just kidnapped, you were just hit upside the head, you don't know what's going on, you don't know where you are, so how are you gonna start walking home? Like, it didn't add up to me, and it didn't really make sense, because if I got kidnapped and I got hit upside the head and the one person that I trusted I went to, she didn't want nothing to do with me, I'm calling the next person because you're hurt, right? Well, that's not what Riley did. So Riley gets home and he calls his friend Noah Walton, and he tells Noah, hey, I was kidnapped, these people knocked me upside my head, they stole my car, they threw me in the back of a van. And at that point, Noah is like, what? Like, okay, cool, like whatever, dude. Like, he did not believe a word. As Riley keeps talking and he goes on, he's like, but no cops, don't worry about telling the cops, it's fine, like it already happened, just no cops. And that's all he keeps repeating, no cops, no cops. Which, of course, like, you're gonna think is weird because you were just kidnapped. Why wouldn't you want to report it? No one reported the alleged kidnapping at all. Jumping to the next morning, Emma is home at this point, and she's texting friends about how she's so scared, she's fearing for her life because there is a man dressed in all black at her front door. She wrote text messages about how she saw this man dressed in all black walking up the street. Now this man is standing in front of her door, ringing her doorbell over and over and over. So who does she text? Riley. She texts him, I hate you right now, but I need you. Riley replies, I'm on my way, don't worry, I'm speeding. Apparently that morning, Emma and her mother Jill had plans. So when Emma didn't show up for those plans, Jill's kind of like, what's going on? Something's not right. Emma was supposed to be here for our plans. I need to go home and make sure that everything is okay. So she goes home. When she arrives home, she finds Riley and Emma standing out on the front yard. And her immediate thought was, really? Like, are you kidding me? And as she's walking up the yard, she tells Riley, you're not supposed to be here, can you leave? And she's asking him, you know, to leave. She's being polite. Riley straight up tells this lady, no, I'm here to help, I need to make sure that Emma is okay. So at this point, Jill straight up tells Riley, no, like, you are not supposed to be here, you need to go. And he leaves because her whole mood has changed, her tone has changed, and he's like, oh shit, she's not playing, you know? So he leaves. Jill immediately doesn't believe the whole story. Either she feels that Emma is not being honest with her and she just doesn't want to know that she had Riley over, or she just really thinks that it was just Riley, you know. And she's trying to get Emma to see, like, hey, like, something's not right. If the story you're telling me is true, then it doesn't add up. Something's fishy here. Emma's like, no way, you know, because no matter what, even though they broke up, her feelings for Riley aren't going to be over like that. It's not possible, you know. 2 years, come on now. They were just attached emotionally. Even though she cut it off, the emotion for each other was still there. Like, you can tell that these two were a actually good couple when they were a couple. Just from like previous posts, she seems so happy. I'm gonna put up a few here so you can just see what I'm talking about. No matter what, in the beginning of their breakup, for some reason she was going to reach out to Riley. For some reason she was gonna need him just a little bit. That didn't surprise me when the first person she thought to call was him, because they just got out of a relationship. If she's needed Riley, she's had him. So she reached out to the person that she's used to having. So I'm guessing at this point Riley's parents were kind of on guard, because they felt that if they loosened their rope a little bit, that Emma and Riley were going to get back together, and that's not what they wanted. They realized that Emma was finally moving on with her life. She was finally doing better for herself, and they wanted to keep it that way. So now her parents take the step of watching Emma's every move. And I don't mean like stalker mode or anything like that, but for a little while, they follow her to work, they follow her to school, they follow her to practice, just to make sure that Emma is safe. For whatever reason it is, her parents felt like this needed to happen, so they did it. It is now Monday, November 21st of 2016. It's a little after 6 a.m. and Jill walks into Emma's room to wake her for school. And, you know, she's calling her name. She's not answering. She's thinking, dang, this girl's really asleep, you know. Well, she gives her a few minutes and then she comes back. And at this point, she's like bumping her leg. She's calling her name louder. She's shaking her, trying to get her to wake up. And Emma is not waking up. It's at this point where Jill's getting a little bit frantic, and she's trying to figure out like what the heck is going on. Why isn't Emma answering me? And it isn't until Jill actually looks at her daughter's face and realizes that something is wrong. She's looking at her face. On the pillow next to Emma, I'm guessing the pillow that she was laying on, had what looked to be like throw up on it. So Jill goes and looks for a pulse on Emma, and she cannot find one. Now she's freaking out. She has called 911, and the operator asks her, is she unresponsive? And Jill replies, yes. At this point, police are sent to the Walker residence, and the lead forensic detective states that Emma's cause of death was actually suicide. He thinks that maybe she overdosed, and the overdose caused her to throw up. You know, there could be multiple things as to why there was throw up on her pillow, but he has marked the cause of death as a suicide. So at this point, rumors at the high school are going around that Emma Walker has killed herself. And of course, the one thing that you think about is Emma Walker has killed herself because of her Riley, or because of her breakup. So as of right now, Emma's cause of death is a suicide. And it isn't until another detective shows up, till the pictures are being taken, that they realize that the residue on her pillow actually isn't throw up. Trigger warning. It's actually the insides from her brain. And the reason that is on her pillow is because as they lift Emma's head over to the side a little bit, there's a entry wound to her head. So now Emma's cause of death is not a suicide. It is now ruled a homicide. The Walkers still have no idea what's going on. They don't know what is wrong with Emma. They now know that their house and their residence is considered a crime scene. So at that point, everyone is asked to leave. So now at this point, detectives are looking for the bullet entryway. Okay. They find 2 bullet holes in 2 separate walls of Emma's room, along with 2 shell casings outside of the home. Emma died from a bullet wound behind her left ear. The second bullet was found lodged in Emma's pillow. So while detectives are interviewing friends and family, only one name keeps popping up. And I think we can kind of guess who it is. William Riley. The reason why Riley's name keeps coming up in the interviews is because of the relationship itself, because of the way that he treated her, things in the past, all that stuff. People are just kind of jumping to conclusions at that point and naming names. While people are naming Riley as who they feel is the one involved, Riley takes to social media, and this is his post that he writes about Emma finding out about her death. And you know, like, you can just tell that he's hurting. You know, he wants Emma to know how much he loves her. He even makes a statement about, be sure to tell God about our special verse, and then he names the verse. It's a post that a grieving boyfriend would post, you know, even though he was an ex-boyfriend. It was a fresh thing to him, you know. So Riley apparently told 2 friends about the whole kidnapping situation, and those friends were Noah, which I told you guys about, and Alex. They find out that Emma has actually died, so not only are they upset about that, but now they're fearing for their own friend's life. They remembered the whole kidnapping story, hit him upside the head, stole his car, put him in the back of a van. So their immediate thought is, Riley's next, you know? So they tell detectives about the alleged kidnapping right then and there. And not only that, but Noah informs police that Riley took his grandfather's 9mm gun, and he swore to Alex that it wasn't because he was suicidal, it wasn't that he was going to do something stupid, it was just the fact that he feared for his life and for Emma's life. So he took the gun as a protection, not to hurt himself. But this is kind of where we get a plot twist, okay? After the murder itself, Riley reaches out to Noah and he's like, hey, do you know how to get fingerprints off of a gun? And he's like, I'm only asking for a roommate. Don't worry, it's not for me, it's just for my roommate. I didn't know the answer, so I was just seeing if maybe you did, you know? Trying to play it off, and Noah's like, no, I don't know how to do that, and don't ever ask me something stupid like that again. Police then now are asking Riley, where have you been in the last 72 hours? Riley tells them, oh, I stayed with Noah, which in the end turns out to not be true. So now Riley's story and his timeline are just not adding up at this point. And he's a suspect, so he obviously has to be interviewed. Well, in his interview, Riley refuses to call Emma by her name. He only refers to Emma as that girl. For example, you know, he's explaining to detectives about how Emma was texting him one day. Well, the way he uses it is, that girl texted me. Detectives talk about how they felt a total mood change in Riley. Detectives describe Riley's mood changes from being a loving, caring, concerned ex-boyfriend to someone who is completely dark and completely empty. Riley talks about how Emma just would not engage with him, meaning when he tried, she would shut it down. When he reached out, she wouldn't care. He even talked about how she told him, if you want to talk to me, you have to help me do my paper. I mean, I guess she was kind of playing the game, you know, like she was giving him that dirt that she got for the 2 years that they were together, and he didn't like it very much. So he even tells detectives about a 2 to 3 hour time frame that he broke down and was crying over the breakup itself. And while he was explaining that breakdown, he had no emotion. Like, he didn't show that he was actually upset about it. He was just talking about it like nothing. Riley was talking about how her words were cruel, how she was being really mean to him, and detectives said that they just felt that his story itself was just rehearsed. He had been over it a million times in his head. He had what he was going to say ready to go, and it didn't add up, you know? A few days prior to Riley's interview itself, his grandpa actually does report his 9mm missing. it wasn't actually missing because Noah actually saw the gun in Riley's hand. The gun has been missing. No one knows that Riley actually had the gun. So he's acting nervous at this point. The detectives ask him, hey, we need to see your phone. We just need to make sure what you're telling us adds up. You know, we need to make sure the call was there, blah, blah, blah. And Riley is like, am I a suspect? And detectives are like, should you be? But Riley's like, no, like I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't do anything wrong. I guess he complies and gives him his phone. Well, as he is leaving the station, the first person he texts is Noah. And he's like, really? Why did you tell detectives about the gun? Like, why did you sell me out like that? And at that point, Noah and Alex know that something is up with Riley. Noah saw the gun in Riley's hand, and at this point, they're just fearing for their life. Their friend is acting weird. He's not giving the right information. They know that he has a gun. They're like, I'm not playing with my life. So they reach out to detectives and they're like, what can we do to get proof to you guys that Riley has the gun or he had the gun? We need to find justice for Emma, and we need to keep everyone else safe. When detectives realize that Noah and Alex are willing to help them figure out where the gun is and what happened, they come up with the plan. Even though this plan is very dangerous, Noah and Alex are willing to do it. Jumping into the date of the plan itself, I told you guys that Emma died on a Monday. Well, we're literally talking about the next day, Tuesday, November 22nd. Detectives wire up the two teens. They place a hidden camera in their key fob of their car, and they have Alex and Noah go meet up with Riley so they can catch him, and not only catch him with the wire, but they can catch him on video. And the plan worked. Riley not only admitted to having the gun, he also admitted to wanting to get rid of it. Now, in the video, which I'm gonna clip it next, he does claim that, you know, I didn't do anything to Emma. You guys know I wouldn't harm her, blah, blah, blah. I need to get rid of this gun though. So if you didn't do anything, why do we need to get rid of the gun? So I'm gonna go ahead and clip in that video now, and we'll talk more after that.
I put that on my life. I wouldn't lie to you right here, right now. I don't know who did. I would never hurt her a day in my life. I had that gun because I was scared about what happened. I know you don't believe me. You probably don't either. Whatever. Yeah, I'm saying like.
At first, Riley seems unsure whether to trust his friends. Yet he has a plan and begins writing a script for them to throw police off his scent.
Tell them you're on LSD, you were drunk, and you were high. Your mind was altered. Whatever statement you give them wasn't a straightforward answer. Like, with my life, because I mean, this is 70 years in jail if I get convicted of something I didn't do. And are you busy right now? Like, are you about to do anything? Well, can we go to the Bluffs? Because I need to get rid of the gun. At the Bluff? I'm gonna throw it into the water. They'll never find it in the river.
After all of this happens, of course, Riley is arrested. But not only that, detectives find gloves, and they also find full black clothing, giving the idea to detectives that Riley was in fact the man dressed in all black. That was at Emma's house. We're gonna go ahead and jump to Riley's trial. Riley went to trial in May of 2018. His attorney fought so hard in court to prove that Riley didn't intentionally mean to harm Emma. He fought hard to try and prove that Riley was just trying to scare and get Emma's attention. And I'm gonna go ahead and read something that he actually said in the court, and it states, "He never intended to cause her harm. He never intended to cause her death." They also tried to get the court and the jury to see that Riley actually wasn't the man dressed in all black that day. He swears by it. We'll never really know because there was really no proof of that ever happening. So after 5 long hours of deliberation, the jury does find Riley guilty. And his counts were first-degree murder, stalking, theft, reckless endangerment, and a possession of a firearm during a dangerous felony. Now, in the state of Tennessee, a first-degree murder conviction is an automatic life sentence. Riley was completely silent his whole entire trial. And the only time Riley spoke at his trial was to say this quote right here to the Walker family themselves. Since Emma's death, her family tried really hard to keep her legacy alive. Emma was obsessed with animals and she wanted to be an NICU nurse. So in her honor, they had a dog park and an NICU room named after Emma Walker. After justice was served for Emma, Jill spoke out to other girls, women going through what Emma went through, whether it be an abusive relationship, a controlling relationship. All of those things matter, and this is what Jill's quote was. That's kind of the end of the Emma Walker case. I'm just gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about it from my point of view. I feel like Riley made decisions out of jealousy, and it was completely unfair, not only to Emma but to her family. They lost a really beautiful daughter, all because her boyfriend didn't want to move on. And although he states that he didn't do it intentionally, like he just wanted her to want him, to need him, that's such a stupid excuse. Like, taking someone's life because you wanted her to want you, you wanted her to need you, yeah, something's wrong up there, buddy. Just kind of like a message to anyone out there going through it. I know I'm not getting millions of views, I'm not getting thousands of views yet. If anyone is watching my videos and you're going through something like that and you want someone to listen, if you need someone to talk to, I'm all ears, because you do deserve better for yourself and you should definitely reach out to someone. In Emma's case, I feel like she didn't do that. Either she didn't want people to see her as weak, she didn't want people to know how she was actually feeling. She wanted to look strong, she wanted to look like she had it all and she knew what she was doing for herself. And in reality, maybe that's what she thought, and Riley just had other plans. And in the end, this case just isn't fair, and it's super sad, and my heart goes out to the Walker family. I'm super glad that Emma got her justice, and I am so glad that Riley got what he deserved. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this video on that note. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any feedback, any comments, leave them down below. Please be sure to subscribe if you're a crime addict just like I am. I'm trying to get better at my videos, my recording. I'm trying to get a little bit more comfortable. I want to be as good as I can be. And until I get there, we're gonna have to deal with Hercules popping up randomly, that stupid little Turner thingy on the roof, and the wind. We're just gonna have to deal with it because, hey, I'm getting started. Thank you guys for even being here. It means so much to me and I appreciate you guys so much. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.